Whatever over years, it's like we can have it. I get my mother, I believe. Overnight, basically. Well, second time's one. That's five. And then senior year lot. I was that's why it's not like it's a change. If I could, they can all this again. And we gave up pretty good. Yeah. You buy. Fine. Fine. Sure, I would just look. Not bad. No. It's a significant chair while writing. Like, you know, it's super new, super new. Just one of the chairs we have to. Right. See that we need to have to. What's up with them? Super photos. We got a POW day. Yeah, I was up there when they had one of the really big snowstorms. Yeah. Here's, you know where the backside is? Okay. First day was like pretty much. It's nice up there when it's sunny. There's something nice up there. By the way, I'm showing you now lifts. So we were like taking the last lift up on it. I see them, especially so cute. I went down. Well, that's I can say is the fact that it's been ice patch all the way down until like halfway down. Oh, I was actually. I think. Went the backside. Oh, okay. I removed the skin flat. Skin flat. Or else you need smooth and get walk. Guys, patch, so you basically have a straight line. That's how you get that. Yeah, I just go through trees. Nothing. Okay, so. It was back to campus. Yeah, no, I do that a lot. Yeah, I had a scale there. I thought I almost got impaled by a tree branch. Dead tree. So, I didn't really think it was a big one side.
Right, it's 1 o'clock. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the spring semester. I'll admit this is a week earlier than I thought I'd be seeing all you guys, but it's good to see you guys nonetheless. So my name is Justin Trance. I will be your instructor for this class. I'll be honest, I don't have much prepared for today. Usually I do an activity on the first day of this class. But because of everything that's happened, I didn't have time to prepare it. So I literally just made these slides, I think 30 minutes before class. And so what I wanted to do today is we're not going to go over any actual content in the class. I just wanted to go over kind of what you can kind of expect from the class in general, what this class is all about, because this class is a little bit unique when compared to a lot of our other classes. We'll go through the syllabus in terms of everything you need to know for that. And I wanted to take a tour of the course website just so you know kind of where everything is and how I typically organize things. Okay. So it's a pretty chill day. Just more just like a kind of a get to know you kind of day. Just so that you can see what the class is about and how the class is going to be organized. Okay. So I think we probably should finish pretty quickly. I don't think we're going to take the entire hour, 15 minutes, but okay. So before we begin, are there any questions I can answer from anyone? Yes. So we're a little bit unique in this class just because this classroom is a little bit constrained in the number of seats. Because I know that I think I saw there's 37 seats already in the class, and so I don't know how much more we can expand it, but I'll look and see. Yeah, I'm not sure how the other section of 401 is doing too, because if that other section's open, then they may not let us. But let's chat after the class. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions I can answer before we get started for today? Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so a little bit about myself. So my name is Professor Justin Tran. I always tell everyone every year you can call me whatever you want. I think most people kind of just offer Professor or Dr. Tran, but you can call me Justin too. I like to still think I'm still pretty young, and so it actually makes me feel good when you call me Justin. When people call me by title, it makes me feel old, which I don't like. So my office is in the engineering building, so it's across the quad, so it's in E220, and so that's on the second floor. So if you go on the second floor of engineering, and then you come out of the elevator and you turn right, I'm kind of in that kind of alcove of faculty offices in there. I grew up around here, so I grew up in Cyprus, and so if you don't know where that is, that's about I think 10 miles west of here. My parents still live there, so I see them about every other week. So it's great that I was able to get a job here. All of my education has been in mechanical engineering. It's taken me all over California, from LA to San Diego to Stanford. Those were all my degrees are from. And my research interests, not particularly relevant for this class, but in case you were interested, I do a lot of research in biomedical engineering. So specifically heart and blood disease. Okay. So before every class, if you have me before, because I know a couple of you have me before, I like to start every class with what I call the learning objectives for the day. So kind of just very briefly, you can kind of think of these as kind of just an outline of what you can expect to learn from the class. So today is a little bit unique just because today is kind of an introduction day, but normally I'll have 2, 3, 4 of these learning objectives that we'll go over every day. Okay. So I always encourage everyone, before the class starts, I'll have them up before the lecture begins. Especially if you're writing your notes for the day, write those at the top of your notes, just so that you can kind of, little bit better organize your notes that way. Right? I use these as kind of like something to kind of keep me organized as well, because if you'll notice from a lot of these, I start each of these learning objectives with a verb. And the reason I do that is because, I want the learning objectives to be something that will describe, what you should be able to do after the class, right? And so I'll give you an example. And so, on Thursday when we meet up, we're going to start talking about interest rates and costs and benefits and things like that. And so one learning objective from that day would be to use interest rates to compute, how much an investment will be worth in, such and such years. Okay. And so I write them very specifically like that so that you can take those learning objectives after the lecture and you can look and see, did I capture everything that I needed to today from this set of lecture notes? And so if you look at your lecture notes and you feel like you've got a good grasp on the learning objectives, and that's great, then you got everything that I wanted you to get out of that lecture. But if you didn't, or if there's some parts that you're confused about, that's probably a good indication that you should go back to your lecture notes, maybe read them through again. Maybe watch the lecture videos again. So I'm going to post all the lectures on YouTube so you can view them afterwards, or maybe come talk to me. So use those learning objectives, and in fact those learning objectives will be essentially your study guide for all the exams as well. Okay, so for today, like I said, it's pretty simple. We're just going to prepare for the semester, just kind of introduce the course, talk about the syllabus, and go through the course. Okay, so what is this course, right? And so this course is called EGME 401. It's called Engineering Economics and Professionalism. And like the name implies, there's two main parts of the class. And the way I kind of structure the class, I kind of segregate them into two different parts. So for the first, I would say maybe 2/3 of the semester we'll be going over engineering economics. And what you can think of this is as this is kind of just very basic economics. And so understanding things like costs, benefits, things like taxes, inflation, budgeting, interest rates, all that stuff. Okay. And what we'll talk about a lot in this class is that these factors have a very important influence on your engineering projects. And so, but I think what you'll learn very quickly, and for those of you who are seniors right now working on your senior design, I think you'll learn very quickly that for a lot of engineering projects, you're not really limited by technical expertise. You learn a ton of that as a student, but you're limited by kind of other factors. One of them being money. And so, knowing how to manage the money, how to budget the money, is a very important skill. And especially for those of you who are interested in getting into like a management track in your job eventually. So, if you're going to be managing engineers, managing projects, understanding the finances, and at least having a basic understanding of that is something that's really important. And that's kind of a big reason why we have this class as part of our curriculum. Okay. The other part of the class, even though in the title we call it professionalism, it's really kind of an introduction to engineering ethics, right? And so it's kind of understanding that, a lot of engineering projects that you work on are going to have impacts on kind of society as a whole. Right? And so, some of these are issues like health and safety of people, right? I think that's probably the most important one. And so if you're designing things like cars, you're designing things like cell phones, you want to make sure that these are going to be safe for people to handle, right? Because they're your main customers, those are the ones that are going to be paying for your service or paying for your product. We'll also talk about the impact that engineering projects have on the environment. I think there's a lot of really interesting conversations about that going on nowadays. And even things like intellectual property and patents. So that's kind of a really important one if you're going to be working in R&D to any capacity, right? And something that's becoming really important nowadays too is kind of things like data privacy, artificial intelligence, things like that, right? And so we're in kind of a very kind of transformative space right now in terms of engineering ethics. Okay? And so that's kind of the other part of the class that we kind of bundle together. Right? And so if I were to sum this up, because people ask me all the time what this class is about. This class, in contrast to all of your other engineering classes, covers I would call it the non-technical side of what it takes to be an engineer. Right? The management, the finances, the ethics, right? All the things that people say that they don't really teach you in school, but we have this class for. So that's what you can kind of expect. So in terms of difficulty, people, I'm sure that's the question in everyone's mind: is this class difficult? I would say it's the calculations and the math that we're going to do is certainly a lot easier than what you would normally get in a kind of a traditional technical engineering class. And so for that sense, it is a little bit more chill, but it's different. And I think that's the thing that kind of catches people off guard, because especially once we get to the engineering ethics side, we'll be doing a lot of writing. You'll be doing a lot of research, kind of your own independent kind of research into case studies and writing about it and kind of expressing yourself that way. And so, I think overall it is less work, but it is different, and you kind of have to kind of shift your mind, shift your focus in order to kind of be ready for this class. Okay, so let's talk about engineering economics. And so, like I mentioned, most engineering work that you're going to do, I think for the majority of you is going to be in a commercial setting. And so that's, what that means is basically you're going to be working for a company that is going to look to earn money based off your work, right? And so, you basically just have to kind of understand that, in total, what you bring in from the project in terms of sales should, be greater than what you, what it costs, right? And of course, it's a lot more complicated than that. There's a lot more facets and a lot more nuance to it. But ultimately, your engineering product, your engineering work is going to be, aiming to make someone money, right? And that's an important aspect. And even if you don't work in a commercial setting, so some of you will work for public works projects, government projects, utility companies, things like that, right? In those settings, you're not necessarily looking to earn money, or at least that's not part of your job. You're still going to be expected to manage your finances and to keep the costs down as much as possible, right? And so, what we're seeing is that, it's becoming more and more important for professional engineers to have this background. Albeit, we are going to keep it fairly basic in this class, because, you guys aren't business students, but having at least an understanding and a grasp of these topics is going to be important for you. Okay. And I think what's particularly unique, I think maybe different than kind of maybe the personal budgeting that you may do, is that a lot of engineering projects take place over a very long time horizon. So, sometimes it's months, a lot of times it's years, right? So you're talking, maybe 2, 3, 5, 10 years. And so budgeting for that kind of project and making sure the money is going to be there at every stage of the project, when you account for things like inflation and interest rates and the cost of goods changing over time, right? It's a difficult problem. And so, learning how to do that is a very important part of this class. Okay. And so what the image that I'm showing you here is, you may have seen this image somewhere in the college. That is our proposed, building renovation. And so they're calling it the ECS Innovation Hub. This image, this girl on the right here is always hilarious to me. She's in her own little world in VR. We've had a lot of meetings discussing about, what's kind of most feasible for this project and how we're going to account for the cost, because this project is something that's going to take, at least 4 or 5 years. And so, if you look and see how the construction company, how the dean's office have kind of budgeted for the costs, they factored in things like inflation, things like, the cost of goods like steel and concrete going up over time, wood going up over time. And so, it's a complicated thing and something that is, important to understand. Okay. So of course, the other part of the class is engineering ethics. And so, the main reason we need to know this is that, your products or what you're going to work on as a professional engineer, humans are going to interact with it on a regular basis, right? And it's your job as the designer, as the engineer, to make sure that whatever you're creating, whatever you're designing is going to be safe for humans. It's going to have the environment in mind. It's going to protect people's privacy, all that good stuff. Okay. Because, I think what you'll see, and when we get to this point in the class, we're going to talk a lot about case studies. So we're going to talk a lot about, historical situations where, ethics was not kind of the forefront of people's mind, and you get kind of big disasters. And so this image that I'm showing you here is the Ford Pinto. So this is a very famous car in engineering ethics, although for all the wrong reasons. And so this was a car that was developed, with economics in mind. And so, the Ford Motor Company basically developed this car to compete in a market where another company was basically dominating. So they were trying to look to cut costs in as many places as possible to make sure that their car was kind of, as economically viable as possible. But because they cut so many corners during the design process, it left the car very vulnerable to a lot of health and safety issues. Right? The main thing being that the gas tank was kind of located in a very dangerous spot where if you kind of hit the car, the Ford Pinto from behind, it can cause a very large kind of gas explosion and kind of kill everyone on board. So we're going to talk about this one a lot, but I think it's the one that I think people think of first when they think of kind of engineering ethical issues. Okay. And that's part of the reason why we kind of pair ethics with economics in this class. Because a lot of times those two factors in an engineering project are going to be at odds with each other. So, kind of knowing how those two kind of interplay and how to kind of navigate that as an engineer is really important. All right. Any questions on this so far? Okay. Okay, so let's talk about the syllabus. And so the syllabus is posted online. I think I emailed you all of it, the syllabus as well. But I did want to go over together just so that we kind of are kind of all on the same page in terms of the all the important details. Okay. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is office hours. And so my office hours are going to be on the days that are listed here. So Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. So like I mentioned, my office is physically located in E220, but I also open up Zoom for office hours as well. And so if you're unable to come in person, or if it's Monday, I'm not typically here, in the morning, then you can join via Zoom, right? And so the Zoom links for all these office hours are on the Canvas page. I'll kind of show you where to click on them later, but these are all the times. And so it's gonna be Monday from 11 a.m. to noon. Tuesday, Thursday, they're basically going to take place after a lecture. And so if you want to talk to me on Tuesday, Thursday, just stalk me to my office and then, we can talk there. Okay. And so for office hours, typically what I use them for is, if you're confused about anything in the class, anything that we're going over in terms of the lecture, office hours are a great chance to talk about that. You have questions on the homework, you have questions on the exams in terms of what to study, all of that is good. But also, if you just want to stop by and say hi, that's fine too. Okay. Right. Okay. More learning objectives. So in addition to the daily learning objectives that I talked about kind of earlier today, we also have learning objectives for the course overall. And so these are kind of, our guiding objectives that they're going to guide the entire course. And so, by the time you finish the course, by the time we reach summer break, all four of these things you should be able to do, very well. Okay. And so when I designed this course, when I organized this course, I wrote these ones first, and then I think, and I organized all the content, all the lecture notes, everything around these things. Okay. Let's talk deliverables. And so what are the actual, amount of work that you're going to do in this class, and what are you going to turn in? So there are 7 homework assignments. The first one being out already. We'll talk about that in a bit. We have 2 midterm exams that are planned, and 1 final project. And the final project has a presentation component as well as a final report. Okay. The final project is a group project, and so that's something that you'll form groups together with the other people in the class later in the semester. But just know that there's the presentation and the report. Okay. All right, so for the homeworks, I have a policy to drop the lowest homework grade, so that's done automatically. And so, I know that throughout a long semester, a lot of things can happen, and so sometimes it's hard to kind of stay on top of the homework, especially when you're busy with a lot of your other classes. And so I want to give you guys a little bit of I always want to give you guys a little bit of flexibility in terms of maybe you're just not able to one week, or you're not able to turn it in. Or maybe just one homework assignment you're not able to, put in your best effort. So, I want to give you kind of that almost like a get out of jail free card. So one of them is going to be dropped. But please still do them all. And so even if you're not able to make the deadline for one, I still highly recommend that you do the homework assignments. So, I write the homework assignments, and you'll see once we get closer to the exams, I write the homework assignments, very similarly to how I write my exam. So I write everything from scratch. And so, when it comes time for the exams, the first thing I'll tell you is that, you should go over the homework problems, because that's basically what the exam's going to be. Okay. Okay. And these are the dates for the exams. And so granted, I first made these dates with the assumption that we were going to miss this entire first week, but I think I'm still going to keep these dates. And so we might have a little bit of an awkward period once we get to the exam. So the first exam is planned for March 5th. We may finish all the content for that exam, maybe a week or week and a half prior to that. So we're just gonna have a little bit of a delay between when we finish the content and when the exam actually. But I think I've already written it up. I think it's okay. Okay. So I don't plan on pushing the exam dates any further up. But I think because they're kind of late already, I don't think we'll push them back. So I'm just going to go ahead and commit to these exam dates. Okay. So the first exam is going to be Tuesday, March 5th. Second exam is going to be about 5 weeks later. So that's Tuesday, April 9th. The final presentations will take place in the final lecture week of the semester. So that's May 7th and May 9th, right? Tuesday and Thursday of that final week. And then the final report, which is your final deliverable that you'll turn in for the class, that's going to be due on Monday, May 20th. Okay. And so that's the Monday after finals week. So just because I know, you guys are always really busy during finals week. And so, I don't want to, or at least I want to give you a little bit of extra time in terms of, how much time you can work on the project. But I can't really push it back any further than that. That's about as far back as I can push it. Okay? But whenever I have a final project in my class, I like to kind of have it due after finals week to give you guys some of the next. Any questions on this so far? All right, grades. So this is the grading breakdown. So the homeworks are worth 15%. Your two midterms combined are going to be worth 40%, and the final project is worth 45%. Okay. And so if you'll notice from my grading breakdown, you can see that I have a higher midterm score and a lower midterm score. Right. So the higher midterm is going to be worth 25%, and the lower midterm is going to be worth 15%. Okay. So what that basically means is that whichever of the midterm exams that you score higher on, so let's say between the two midterm exams, first one you get 41 out of 50, second one you get 32 out of 50, right? So I'm gonna adjust the grade so that 41 out of 50, the higher midterm score will be worth a higher percentage of your grade. Okay. And so just to kind of give you guys a little bit of flexibility too with the midterm exams as well. Okay. And so if we get to the first midterm and you don't do as well as you want, just know that, if you can kind of make it up on the second midterm by kind of acing that. So if you ace the second midterm, that one's going to be worth 25% of your grade, and the lower midterm is going to be worth 15%. Okay. So I do all this automatically. And so, just kind of know that. Okay. And that gives you a little bit of flexibility too. So let's say that you ace the first midterm, then you kind of have already 25% of your grade in the bag. And then that, not to say you should do bad on the second midterm, you should do good on both midterms, but you have a little bit more leeway on this. Okay, and so based on that, once all the grades are in, you'll get your final grade percentage, and then once based on your final grade percentage, I'm going to assign letter grades according to that scale. So I think this scale is pretty standard here. Okay, and I do all the rounding, so I do all that automatically too. And so if you're at an 82.5, I'll round that up to an 83. And you get it. Okay. All right. Any questions on this? All right, textbooks. So there's no required textbooks for the class. It's been over 10 years since I graduated college. I still have a burning hatred for textbook companies, and so I want to avoid giving them any money when I can. So I usually don't require any textbooks for my classes. I post all the lecture notes that you're going to need for the class on Canvas, and so usually I tell my students just to follow those. But if you're interested in looking at kind of additional examples or have an additional reference, these are the two textbooks that I mainly follow. So the first one being Engineering Economic Analysis, 14th edition. They might be on a future edition now, I'm not sure, but that's the one I use. And then for the ethics portion, I'm following this very aptly titled Engineering Ethics textbook, the 4th edition, because I can't spell, by Prentice Hall, 2012. Okay. And so what I always tell people is that if you are going to pick these up, find a cheap one. You should never pay full price for textbooks. And if you can find one that's free on Surfing the High Seas, then that's always a good option too. All right, course website. So some of you may have already seen the course website, but basically any content that I produce for the class, lecture notes, lecture slides. So these slides are on Canvas right now. All the homework assignments, homework solution, exam solutions, study guide. There's going to be kind of a lot of other miscellaneous material that I'm going to give you for the class as well. All that will be posted on Canvas. Okay, so Canvas should be kind of your first stop shop for this class. Okay, and I recommend and I realize this is kind of been a thing in the past. When I post something on Canvas, I recommend actually downloading it to your computer. So that you can kind of access it a little bit more easily. It just kind of came to my attention last semester that a lot of people are just accessing it online, but it does help to actually download all the PDFs. Okay. Canvas is what I'm also going to use to primarily communicate with you all. And so if there's any announcement that I need to make that the entire class needs to see, I will post it on Canvas, and I think Canvas automatically emails it to you. Okay. And so if you're having issues getting emails from Canvas, or you're not hearing from me at all, I try not to spam you, but I'll send an announcement maybe once every couple of weeks or so. You'll get an announcement before the midterm exams, things like that. Let me know. Okay. All right, course policies. So these are kind of the miscellaneous policies that I have. First, let's talk about late homeworks. So I do accept late homework, and so if you miss the deadline by a couple of days, you should definitely still send it to me, and I will still grade it. I do have a penalty for this though. So each day that the homework is late, I do dock 10% off the points. And so if your homework is 2 days late, then the maximum score that you can get on that homework is 80%. Okay. And so try to this again is is to give you a bit of flexibility, especially I get a lot of homework dead of night, and so I don't want to cut off the homework submission right at the due date. So this gives you some leeway, but I do post solutions after I grade the homeworks, and so I do have to penalize late homeworks because of it. Okay. All right, regrades. And so I try not to. My past students may not agree, but I try not to make mistakes when I grade stuff. But if I do make mistakes, I'm always happy to look at it again. So just let me know. This I think primarily is on the exams. And so the policy that I have is that if you're going to ask for a regrade, or if you want me to look at something again, you need to give it to me at most a week after I give it back to you, right? And the reason for this is that I want you guys to be kind of reading, looking at your grades kind of as we go along in the class, because when I grade your homework, when I grade your exams, I like to leave comments and feedback on what you're doing. But if you're not reading those comments until week 16 of the semester, when you need a bump in grade, it's not really useful, because we went over that 3 months ago. So to kind of encourage you guys to kind of look at things as they're being graded, I have this kind of week deadline. And so if you come to me in week 16 saying that oh, I think I deserve 3 more points in midterm 1, that's I have to kind of cut it off, just because we've passed midterm. That boat has sailed long ago. So but if it's within a week, always happy to move that. Okay. All right, emails. So I get a lot of emails, especially because I do advising as well. And so if you have a question that's specifically for economics and professionalism, it would really help me if you include EGME 401 in the subject line. That way it's easy for me. If I'm sorting out my email, I just search 401 and I get all the emails for that class. It kind of helps me kind of answer your emails in a more timely manner, because I like to kind of answer things in batches. And so all the question 401, I'll do those at once. And so if you add 401 to your subject line, it kind of helps me get to this. Okay. And for the most part, I'm pretty fast with responding to emails. Sometimes you'll get an answer from me in like 30 seconds. But at most, the most I'll let an email sit is 48 hours. And so, I try to kind of be as prompt as I can with those emails. Okay, so definitely don't be afraid to email me, if you ever have a question. Okay. All right, any questions on this so far? Okay, academic dishonesty. So, I think my least favorite thing to talk about on the first day, but our college, our department, our university, on whatever level that you look at here, we have very strict policies on academic dishonesty, and and as such, any act of academic dishonesty will not be tolerated in the course. Okay. And so if you commit academic dishonesty, whether that be, copying someone's homework assignment, using AI to do your homework assignment, using AI to write your final report, cheating off someone on an exam, whatever, the definition of academic dishonesty is kind of growing, by the day. At the very least, that's going to result in a 0 for that assignment. And if it's on something big like like an exam or a project, then I'm going to make a referral to student conduct. And depending on the severity, it can result in up to an F for the course as well. Okay. So it's harsh, and it's not something that I like talking about on the first day, but I I also kind of couple this with, you know, with this kind of this promise that, you know, if you ever feel like you're struggling in the class, or if you ever feel like that you need to kind of cheat or copy someone or use AI to kind of, you know, keep up, you know, please, you know, I would ask that you kind of talk to me first, right? You know, what my job here, or at least what I feel like my job here is to help you guys succeed, right? To help you guys learn and ultimately, you know, take these skills into your career where you can have a very successful and great career. Okay. So I want to help, you know, it's, you know, I feel like that's what I'm here for. So, you know, if you're ever struggling in the class, you know, I would ask that you come talk to me first. And, you know, there's always something that we can do. We can either, you know, come up with a plan, you know, to get you caught up in whatever time that we need to, right? We can, you know, maybe rearrange some of the due dates or something to make it more manageable for your work schedule. You know, there's a lot of things that we can do, but if you don't talk to me, then there's nothing that we can do, right? Because if it gets to the point where, you know, where I catch you cheating, then, you know, that at that point it's kind of out of my hands. So it's you know, we have policies, we have things that we have to follow for these kind of things. But, you know, if you talk to me before it happens, then, you know, there's a lot we can do. And I promise you that, you know, I'll do everything I can to, you know, to get you to a point where you need to succeed in this course. Okay. So please, you know, talk to me first. I always tell people, you know, my job here is not to judge you. Right? And so, you know, I think sometimes, you know, students come to me and then they're embarrassed, like, oh, you know, it's week 10. I haven't really been doing anything, but, you know, I'm really embarrassed and I didn't want to come to you. I'm like, that's okay. That's fine. You know, I know like stuff happens in life, and it's not anybody's fault that it happens, you know, but I'm here to kind of help you out of it, kind of, you know, find a path forward, or at least for this class. Okay? And sometimes for other classes too, you know, people ask me questions for other classes. You know, I always try my best with that. Okay, so the last slide I want to go over today is the first homework assignment, or I call it the zeroth homework assignment, which is just a simple email introduction. So, you know, I know a few of you from previous classes, but I think a lot of you I'm kind of meeting for the first time. So, you know, I always like to kind of get to know everyone in my class, get to know your name, get to know kind of what you're about, what your hobbies are, what your goals are for the class, for graduating, right? You know, the way I said it sounds really creepy, but, you know, it's, you know, I want to get to know you, right? And so, you know, you can share as much or as little with me as you want. Okay? And so the first homework assignment is just simply to send me an email just to introduce yourself, just say what your name is, what your year is. I think, you know, for this class, I think some of you may not be mechanical engineers, so if you're not, you know, then let me know what your major is, right? I have some questions here. You know, you don't have to answer these questions, and so some people take it literally. Some people take this assignment literally, have those assignments, have these questions, and give me like a Grammarly, you know, edited answer to what these are. But these questions are just a guide, right? And so you don't have to answer these specific questions. But if you're having trouble thinking about what to talk about, you know, you can talk about things like, you know, what kind of career you want to have, what do you want to learn most of this course? You know, are you worried? Are you stressed about anything about taking this course? And just what are your interests and hobbies, right? You know, particularly question 3, you know, I like to address, because, you know, if there's anything that you're kind of worried about in the course, anything that you're not sure about, you know, I want to hear those things just so that, you know, I can kind of adjust what I do to kind of, you know, make sure that those are not, at least those are at least kind of met, you know, and a lot of what I do now, I mean, for me now, these are kind of standard practice, but, you know, a lot of things I do now were a result of kind of, you know, these kinds of things. And so people have told me that, you know, you want to, you know, they're concerned about the exams, you want to get study guides, you want to have practices. And so these are things that I kind of do on a regular basis now that come from these kinds of things. And so, you know, please let me know if there's anything you're worried about in the class, worried about me in particular. You know, you can say like, oh, I heard Professor Justin's an asshole. You know, I'm kind of scared about that. You know, that's fine. You know, I'll try really hard not to be an asshole this semester. I will, trust me. So the due date for this is going to be next Friday. So normally I have this due at the end of the first week, but, you know, it was kind of unknown whether we were going to meet this week. So this is due at the end of next week, but, you know, kind of the sooner that you send this to me, the better. And just for sending me this email, you were going to get full credit. And so I also like it because, you know, everyone kind of starts off the class with an A, you know, as long as you just kind of send me this email. Okay. You can even send me something short, like, hey, Professor Dickhead, give me credit for this, and I will give you credit. That's what Someone did do that last year. Okay, so that's it for my slides. So the last thing I want to do today is just go over the course website with you. But are there any questions on the syllabus or the first assignment or anything that we can talk about before we move on?
Do you have a preference
Okay.
in an email that
All
we
right,
use?
so last thing I want to do, let's go over the website. Okay. So it's a little bit underdeveloped right now, mostly just because of the weekly things, just because I didn't have time to flesh it out yet. But I will flesh this out by the end of today. Okay. So if you go to the course website on Canvas, this is what you're going to see. And so you're going to see the title of the course. That's my name. That's my email address. Okay. These are the class times, Tuesday, Thursday, 1 to 2:15. Everyone here knows that because you are here. The class location is at CS 309, or you can attend on Zoom, which is what a lot of people are doing. Okay. Oh, question in the chat. So do I have a preference in whether I use email or if we message you on Canvas? I do prefer email. The Canvas messages are a little bit harder for me to document over email, a little bit harder for me to search. So I do prefer that you send me over email, but either way works for you. So, I'm not gonna, I know sometimes people ignore people, but if you message me on Canvas, I'm not gonna ignore you. But I do prefer email. Yeah. And use my school email. Yes. Okay. So here's a description of the course. So you don't have to read this because we literally just talked about it for the last 30 minutes. Here are the course learning objectives. So we talked about those. Okay. Here are a couple of resources that you're going to need. And so first being the compound interest tables. I don't know why I clicked on this because it's meaningless to you right now, but this is something that we'll go over. I think maybe not next week, but the week after that. Okay, but you'll be using these a lot. Here is the syllabus, and so if you were, want to make sure that I covered everything here, it's all here as well. Okay. Here are all the Zoom links, and so if you want to attend the lectures over Zoom, then you can click on this one here. Okay. If you want to attend the office hours virtually, these are the Zoom links for those as well. Okay. Remember, Monday office hours are virtual only. Tuesday, Thursday, I will be here physically just because, I just walk back to my office after the lecture. But if you want to attend those virtually, you can do that in here as well. Okay. Okay, so at the bottom here, we have the course outline. So it's a little bit kind of underfilled right now. But what you'll see is that as we go throughout the semester, each of these links here will become clickable, and you'll be able to see kind of a weekly summary of the week. Okay. I'll show you one that I did last time, but which I'm going to update, probably when I go back to my office. But we'll talk about that. Okay. Okay. Next, we have the announcements tab. So these are all the announcements that I've made for the class. These are, and you'll probably get these in your email. So that's that as well. Here we have the assignments tab, and so you can see here where all the assignments are done. Okay. And so as the assignments become available, they'll be searchable on this page here. Okay, so they'll tell you the due date, how many points it's worth. Okay. Next tab is your grade. So I think probably everyone's used Canvas at this point, so you probably are familiar with this. Here's a breakdown of the percentages in case you forgot. Okay. There's a tab for people. I don't know how useful this is because it doesn't have the email addresses, but but you can see who's in the class. Right. Next, we have the files tab. So this is probably the next most important tab here. And so all of the content, all of the lecture notes, everything that I make for the class will be posted here. All the homework assignments will be posted here. Right now it's empty. I don't have any problem sets yet. I need to make those. Okay. But all the lecture notes are here. And so if you wanted to look at the lecture notes, you can look at those here. Okay. Here are the solutions. And so homework solutions, exam solutions will be here as well. Okay. Okay. Any questions on this so far? Okay. All right. One more thing I wanted to show you guys before you leave. And so, it's not up yet just because I didn't have a chance to make it. But I did want to show you kind of what a weekly page would look like. Okay. And so you can see here, I've made pages for every single week. And eventually what's going to happen is that though you can access those pages from this course outline here. Okay. And so the week 1 link here will become clickable, once I get to updating this, but I got to update my other classes as well. Okay. But let me show you what one looks like just so that you have an idea. Okay. We go to week 1. Right? And so in week 1, you can see here that I have kind of the title for the week, kind of what we're going to go over. I have a little bit of a description in terms of what we're going to go over that week. Okay. Here we have the learning objectives. And so, this is kind of what I mentioned before. So these are all kind of the tasks and all the skills that you're going to learn for this week. Okay. I think this part's probably the most important part. And so you can see here that these are links to the recorded lectures. And so I think these are linked to my last time I taught the class, which was a year and a half ago. And so you can see here, it takes you to YouTube, and this is kind of where the lecture is recorded. Okay. And this freaking Zoom thing is in the way. Okay. And so as the lectures are done, I post them to YouTube, and I'll kind of update these links to, so you kind of click on them and view the lecture recording if that was something that you were interested in doing. Okay. I have all the assignments for the week, and so you can click on the assignment here. Okay. And all of the lecture notes that we'll be going over the week as well, I'll be posting here as well, right? And so, definitely check out the weekly pages, because I tend to post these on the Friday before the week is about to happen. And so if you want to kind of download the lecture notes ahead of time, or if you want to kind of a sneak preview what we're going to go over that week, you can find it here, okay? Or if you're studying, or if you're doing your homework and you need to kind of watch a lecture again, you can go to that specific week and kind of view that lecture from that page. All right, and so that's kind of just a simple breakdown of how I organize the course. So I try to make it kind of as straightforward and not complicated as I can. Any final questions before we wrap it up for today? Okay, all right, so that's all we got time for today. So thank you guys for coming today, especially on really short notice. They texted me literally at 10 p.m. last night, said you have to work tomorrow. So I kind of threw together what I could. So our first real lecture is going to be on Thursday, and so we'll be going over kind of the basics of economics at that point. So bring your pencil, paper, iPad, whatever you take notes on, because we're going to start. Okay. All right, so thank you guys for coming today. If you want to talk to me, I'll stick around after class, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Professor.
Okay. Sure. Yes, so that's going to be, so like we're in one of the high-rise buildings right now. Yeah. So ESC 2020 is like one of the side buildings. So it's this. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So that one's the SE 2022. That one's closest to parking.
All right. Because we're put on the wait list.
Okay.
So yeah, is there anything we can do about that?
Yeah. So I would kind of wait, because I think there's like 37 people in the class right now.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, and there's like 20 more on Zoom too. So yeah, I would just kind of sit tight. I'll ask the department if we can add any more seats to this class. But we're limited just based on the physical.
All year or just?
It's all year, yeah. But we need the physical space in the classroom to take these. So I can't have more than the capacity.
Well, hopefully everything works out.
Yeah. Yeah, just keep me
So,
updated.
For now, can we just keep going to class? And then-
Yeah, you can either watch on Zoom. If you want access to the campus site, you can send me an email. I can give you manual access for that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Sometimes, so what other people have done in the past that they weren't able to get in my class, but you can watch my lectures and take that to the other 401 class. But yeah, just kind of sit tight. Some space may open up in the next couple of weeks. And I'll talk to the department and see.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. It's okay if I take a picture of you.
Of course, yeah.
Do that.
It's just ran at Fortune.edu. It's like a running club.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah, what's your name?
Kevin.
Kevin, nice to meet you. What's your name?
Sarah, I
Sarah?
met you last week.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
I know you couldn't see me. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have last screen. Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, good to meet you. You guys.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
You said for meeting in classroom, but we also have the option of meeting on Zoom, or is that just Facebook?
It's the whole semester.
Okay.
So the only days that I ask you here in person are the two exams. But besides that, you're free to attend either on Zoom or.
I'm here all day. I'll be here. Thank you so much.
What's that?
I'm Zach, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Yeah,
I fortunately I failed 250B,
okay.
so I'm following the flow chart you made for me. But I'm only in 3 classes.
Okay.
So I was wondering if I could, I'm looking at the scheduling, you don't have anything for today, but for.
Not today, no, because I teach, 4 to 7 today, and so I need to prep for this, and I lost. But I'm thinking because my Wednesday, because I did advising appointments from 8 to 11 on Wednesday, tomorrow, but those still open up, so I may open up more in the afternoon. Keep an eye out. So I think I'm gonna go back to my office and I think I'll probably do advising between 2 and 4.
I think I should be free. I might have a class. I have to check because I'm only taking 2 classes on Monday and Wednesday, and then
Okay.
this is my only Tuesday class.
Okay, let me, once you email me something what time you're free, I'll open up a slot.
Okay, sounds good. Because right now I'm in the dilemma. I'm like, if I just say screw it and do my criminal justice minor, because I think I need like 3 or 4 more courses.
Gotcha.
So I wanna figure it out so I don't stress myself out too
Okay,
much.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, email me what time you're free tomorrow and I'll open up slots and
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah, no problem.
It was good seeing you.
Yeah, good to meet you.
I did end up getting the Holder booth, so I was
Oh,
able to get in the class.
Oh, yeah, I got you.
Last spot.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.